Hi, everyone, and Happy New Year. Welcome to today's episode. I'm your host, Abhishek, and I'm delighted to be joined by Prabakar, the Vice President of Engineering at Synergita. With over 2 decades of experience across software services and product organizations, Prabakar leads the strategic direction for Synergita's employee performance management and OKR platforms, overseeing end to end product delivery. Thanks so much for joining us today, Prabakar.
Thanks, Abhishek. Happy New Year, and
Hi,
I'm
yeah,
looking
Happy New
forward to
Year.
this conversation.
So, in this conversation, we'll explore how engineering leadership choices, especially in this AI enabled SDLC era, is shaping software quality, organizational effectiveness, and business outcomes as we move into 2026. So, let's dive right into it. To me, AI is now part of software delivery, right? And I'm sure you'll agree with this. How do you think leadership choices today, Prabhakar, about where AI is used shape long term software quality and scalability?
See, look, AI is no longer a tool decision, right? So it's a leadership decision. Where leaders choose to apply AI will have a direct impact on the long-term quality and scalability of the product. When you use AI to augment the human judgment, like say, for example, amplifying the test coverage, improving the test coverage, accelerating code reviews, or identifying performance bottlenecks in the code base, it works very well. Even you can use it for analyzing the user behavior and so on. When you use AI for these use cases, it certainly increases the quality and then creates a product which scales for a long term. But if you force AI to make, say, core decisions or for architectural choices and for technology choices, it doesn't work, right? It actually introduces a lot of tech debut later on, and it increases the risk of maintainability problems, which show up later in the cycle. So it's actually better to use AI only for removing the repetitive work at this stage, right? To start with, you can remove the repetitive work from humans and then give it to AI completely, and still keep the architectural decision making and the core decision making, writing, domain specific logic, all of that with experienced engineers, and who will also take up the accountability for it.
I think that makes perfect sense, Prabhakar, and I agree with you, right? I think AI is still maturing. It's getting to the stage where, maybe at some point we can gradually, I mean, there still needs to be human intervention, right, as you mentioned, but we can gradually start using AI for those things. But yeah, right now, I think it's kind of definitely used better to help augment those cases that you talked about. So moving on, right? AI definitely helps increase your velocity, right? But in this day and age, just focusing on velocity is no longer enough. So, how do you think engineering leaders and how have you in particular maybe redefined success in terms of business outcomes over just driving quicker velocity?
Yeah. So see, like velocity is good, okay, speed is good, but speed alone doesn't deliver all the values to customers, right? So the business outcomes are important, and especially SaaS-based product organizations are now shifting their focus towards business outcomes, customer experience, sustainability, and so on. So when I refer to business outcome, I refer to customer acquisition, retention, and the impact of revenue, all of that, right? And Also, the engineering leaders have started, measuring outcome instead of output, and instead of measuring raw velocity, they prefer to measure quality adjusted velocity, right? If the quality is zero, then there is no point in measuring the velocity as such. And it is also good to measure the learning speed, how quickly the team is able to learn and improve over a period of time, right? Uh, in Synergita, we have started measuring the impact from each release, how much impact each feature is making to all our customers, and how easily they are able to adapt and then start using the new features. So instead of measuring the mere velocity, now the engineering teams have even started tying up the customer facing metrics to the engineering teams, so that the engineering teams can also be made accountable for customer facing metrics.
Got it. So I think you're talking about how in Synergita you focus specifically on measuring those customer-facing outcomes, right? So maybe what are some of the metrics that you use in order to see the feature outcome, like based on the feature, each feature that you're releasing?
So we measure something called the customer experience index. Okay, so we have an inbuilt survey in the product. Every user logs out and they can come and provide a rating. How the customer experience was. We get close to 2,000 to 2,500 responses every month. And basis, the product management team develops the customer experience index. So we closely monitor this metric. Along with it, we measure the metrics which are coming from customer support and customer success teams. And your NPS will give a more detailed view of what customers thinking about your latest releases, features, and so on.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. And I mean, I guess as you mentioned, these have not really changed in the day of AI, right? They're still important. They're still metrics that you have to measure, right? And it's about continuing to do that and just helping AI accelerate your process of getting there. Kind of moving on to decision making in the AI accelerated era, right? So as your AI accelerates execution, we talked about how leadership challenges shift from speed to judgment, right? So how has this kind of changed the way you make decisions today?
See, the AI era, it looks like everything is simple, right? But it is not easy for leaders to make decisions, right? It is not. I mean, AI hasn't made it easy for the leaders. In fact, I would say the leadership responsibility has amplified, right? So, see, AI is speeding up the entire SDLC life cycle. It automates everything, right? Right from your requirements definition to software development, testing, and deployment, and so on. But we should keep in mind that the bad decisions are going to scale faster, right? And
Yeah.
artificial intelligence, tools are hiding the complexity, and sometimes it can also give you false confidence. So as leaders, you have to do your own research and then make decisions with align with your organization values and what kind of outcomes you are expecting from each of these initiatives, right? And leadership will certainly need to keep in mind the security compliance risks which are introduced unintentionally into the product base, right? So they have to consider these aspects before deciding on the AI run, right? Because customers are expecting some of these aspects like personalization, ethical aspects to be taken care of by default, right? So these are the areas where the leaders are going to focus. And as we discussed already, the core point for leaders is to ensure that uh, give the use cases which can be handled by AI. Okay, don't give everything to it, and wherever human intervention is needed, it's okay to involve humans to make those decisions.
Got it. Makes sense. I think what really stuck with me from what you said was kind of mistakes also accelerate faster, right? I think
Yeah.
definitely true, right? While you can get work done faster, mistakes are also more rapid, and it's about finding the right balance and obviously I think security compliance those things are a given, right? And makes sense that leaders kind of shift their focus to that in this era. How do you think leadership decisions around team structures kind of help shape your engineering productivity and software reliability over time? Do you think that has necessarily changed from what the structures that you had before, or are they something that's similar today?
See, ever since we introduced AI into SDLC, we want to focus more into each track in the engineering team more, right? But see, in general, in SaaS, the reliability is going to come from clear ownership, right? It is not about doing heroics, right? So we always prefer to define the team boundaries very clearly and split the platform and the product ownerships separately, right? So this is already there. Now, after we introduce some of the AI tools, we also want to go deeper because we really want to understand how these tools are helping us and identify the gaps upfront, right? So you have to like in the past, you had three categories, and today, we have increased them. We want to focus more around how much of code is generated by humans and how much is generated by artificial intelligence and also generate metrics around the quality aspects of it and how much effort has come down in terms of code reviews, all of that, right? So we have modified the process a little bit, and we have also going deeper to measure the metrics at granular level. So that's one change which is really helping us. And if you want to change the process, then the respective changes has to happen at the team level as well, right? So we have done those changes in the team. If you keep the structure not very clearly defined, then it is going to result in diffused ownership, lack of accountability, all of that. And today, with the AI tools available, it's easy to put the blame onto the tools, right? So we want to be very careful in terms of what's happening around there. We do not want to lose the control in the process of introducing AI tools, right?
Yeah, definitely agree, right? And I think at least today, a human is still responsible for the code they ship, right? It's about what they're sending, what like they're shipping, regardless of if it comes from AI, if it comes from them. If they're sending something, they're approving something, then that responsibility, at least today, is still on them. Um, so I think we touched upon this briefly, right? But how do you think leadership behaviors build trust within engineering teams? And why do you think trust is kind of critical for your long-term software health, right? And obviously we talked about accountability and measuring and making sure that trust is present in AI systems, and but more in general, right? How do you think that has changed over time?
So in general, having an engineering team which is built based on trust is a huge advantage, right? Because those teams go extra mile without forcing them to do so. See, in this new era, I believe the trust is going to start from the leadership team, right? So the leadership team will need to communicate the decisions which they are making openly to all the employees, right? Along with the rationale behind it and the trade-offs, all of that. It all starts from leadership, and when leadership trusts the team members, then it creates a very good environment, right, across the teams to go and implement the new technologies with all the motivation and then see how it works, right? So they implement it with curiosity and then learn and improve over a period of time, right? And leadership will need to ensure that they do blameless reviews initially, right? How the new tools are working and how the new approach is working. Are we ensuring that the quality is taken care of? All of that instead of doing a blame game. If leaders can give space for the individuals to understand the new context, all of that, and then implement it on their day-to-day work, then it is going to create a very good environment. And the moment you do it, each team will take ownership, right? And they also identify the issues and the challenges which they are seeing in their respective teams, and then they come up with the solutions also, right? So if all these activities have to be made possible, then the leadership will need to trust the teams, right? And they have to be patience, show patience, when the team is, learning and then implementing, right? And it is also a good strategy to implement a proper communication plan across the teams to ensure that they share the learnings with the other teams, right? It is impossible for leadership to go and find out all the ground level reality. So they have to encourage the teams to share the knowledge which they have acquired every day with other teams so that overall the progress can become faster.
Got it. I think makes sense, and I think one thread that kind of carried through your entire answer there was kind of communication, right? Key is kind of communication between leadership and the teams, and then cross communication and collaboration between the teams. And I think yeah, that is definitely more so crucial today as more and more tools kind of come into the market, and rather than, as you said, blaming the tools, it's about having the space to kind of make sure that they can explore each tool properly. So I think final question before we wrap up, right, is as we begin this new year, what do you think is the most critical thing leadership should focus on today that will have the greatest impact on software success in 2026?
Yeah, I feel intentional decision making at scale, right, is something which we need to focus on as we get into 2026 because AI has created a lot of hype, right? And it is very easy for leaders to be carried away with all this, hype and then make mistakes. So leaders will need to ensure that they do proper research, irrespective of what their competitors are doing. They have to make their own research and then align their decisions with the organization values, and then ensure that those decisions will, pay off, right? And it is also worth starting with the customer's problem always. Don't start with the technology, right? The requirement is not to implement your technology into your product. You have to start with the customer problem and then see how technology can solve the customer problem. Only then it'll become a success for the organization. When I speak to some of our prospective customers, I understand that the leadership teams have given a mandate for every department in an organization to implement artificial intelligence. They have to implement something, and they have to show the benefits, right? But it doesn't work that way. You cannot implement AI everywhere, right? You have to implement it where it is going to give you benefits, right? So intentional decision making, thoughtful decision making is something where we all need to focus as we get into 2026.
Got it. Okay. I think that's a great takeaway and a great note to end on, right? Intentional decision making. So I think with that being said, that's a wrap for today's session. Prabakar, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your perspectives. And to everyone listening, I hope you gained valuable insights into how leadership decisions today shape software outcomes far beyond code itself. Stay curious, lead with intent, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye bye.
Thanks, Abhishek.